So this week we are permanently installing the bulkhead for the stateroom, and I also get to pull out, remove a piece of the boat that I've been anxious to cut out for a while. So we're getting into this week. My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home. We're going to glue in these bulkheads. I am only gluing them in, I'm not fiberglassing them in yet. This is such a big gluing job that I wouldn't have time to do both. Usually, if I have the time, I like to put the glue in and then fiberglass over it so I get a chemical bond. But this time, I'm just getting the glue on, and I'll come back later and fiberglass it. So it's a big job. It's a big moment in the boat to get these first pieces glued in. So here we go.
So how long do you have till this stuff dries?
Not very long. This is a medium cure, so I only have probably 20 minutes of working time with it.
Should I put down the camera and help you?
No. I'm pretty fast. I only did a little section here and here because there's kind of a big gap around this outside, and so I'm just going to fill it with it in.
Why is there a gap? Why can't you fit the bulkhead perfectly?
Because I'm not perfect.
So it's okay, you can just fill that gap with that epoxy?
Yep. You'll see I don't have any masking on the bulkhead. It's because the peel ply is still on it. And so the peel ply is like acting like my masking.
What was that sound? Did you read that? You read that sound.
Uh-huh. It's the sound the epoxy makes when it squirts out. It's splooged out in some places, but it's not in others, and so I got to fill the gaps where it's not filled and clean up where it is squirted out. So That's where I'm at. Gonna go ahead and start taping these bulkheads in. This is gonna take a while to get this done because there's a lot of linear feet to go around on both sides. But I'm just doing 6-inch tapes using my 17-ounce biax. I'll just do one layer on here. I'm gonna try and do it as cleanly as possible so that it looks really, really nice. These will be exposed when the boat's finished, and so as nice as I can make them, then the less work I have to do in the end cosmetically. So I'm doing this a little bit differently now, where, like I said earlier, I'm trying to make these tapes a little bit nicer because they're going to be like exposed. And so the nicer that I do them, the less like fairing and everything that I have to do in the end. And so the problem with this, what's called this biaxial tape, is that when it gets wet with epoxy, it stretches, it like deforms really easily, especially when it's wet. And so the hard part is keeping it together. And so a few people have commented and shown me through the channel that I can use plastic to kind of keep it together. And so what I'm doing is I've got plastic protecting my table here, and I'm just wetting it out. The plastic is, or the sticky table, which is sticky with epoxy, is kind of holding it together right now as I wet it out. And once I get a nice coat pressed into it, and take my piece of plastic and lay it over the top. And so the piece stays in shape this way. And I can also reuse the plastic piece over and over again, which is important to me. So when I get the other side good, and then I just take the whole piece of plastic with the tape on it. And so I've already got the area is swept with thickened epoxy, and I'm using again the peel ply line. So that's the peel ply was cut right there, so I'm using that as like masking again. And that's like the bottom of my where the fiberglass goes. Some little awkward thing that's going all the way to that corner.
That works well.
I think so.
Yeah, it looks really clean.
Yeah, exactly.
thought I just swept that area with thickened epoxy, so now it's nice and sticky for applying the fiberglass. I'm also doing like shorter tapes rather than doing like, I could do like one long tape that goes all the way down, but this is way easier to do these shorter tapes. It might take a little bit longer, but I think it looks nicer, and I can just overlap just a little bit from tape to tape as I go down. So yeah, this is something that Evan told me to do, and I think also because it's like, especially like on this whole side, it's curved, and so that curving deforms the fiberglass tapes anyway. So if you cut it into shorter pieces, then it doesn't deform as much. Okay. Just pontificating.
More epoxy.
Gallons.
How's it look?
Good. That's very sharp.
Difficult to laminate against that whole side, that curved hole.
Boat yoga, having to fit myself in there.
So I've been working on taping these bulkheads together and into the boat for the past couple days. It's a pretty long and tedious project, mostly because I'm trying to do a really nice job with it. A lot of these bulkheads are going to be exposed, and so the nicer job I do in this initial lamination, the less fairing and everything I have to do in the end. And so when it comes time to paint and everything, so I'm just trying to do a really nice job, make it look really nice. And but all I'm doing is doing 6-inch, 17-ounce biax tapes all the way around in short sections, and I'm just about to do the last piece.
trim outlining that bulkhead in the stateroom?
Around the door?
Around the door, but also maybe even around the bulkheads where they meet the hull?
That would be a lot of work.
Really?
Really?
But you don't mind a lot of work.
I think when it comes time to doing trim, I am very much going to mind doing a lot of work.
Oh.
But I do plan to do some kind of nice trim around the doors. There's a fine line when it comes to overdoing the trim. So I don't want to overdo it.
I didn't hear a hard no, though.
No.
No to I didn't.
There's
hear
your
a
hard.
no.
There's your hard no.
Oh.
Okay, we're up here in the stateroom. Yesterday I spent all day fiberglassing in these new bulkheads. So they're all structural to the boat now. And we have this beam that's been here, and it's time for this beam to go. So since I've fiberglassed in these bulkheads, that means that this is structural, which can replace this part. I believe that this was here for compression. Anyway.
Explain more what compression is, what you mean by that.
Well, so it's, if you think of the ring, the section of the boat is like this shape. It's to prevent the boat from going like this, like when people are standing up people are up on the deck or whatever. Keeps that ring in shape. And it might be for both compression and tension, where to keep the frame from going like this too. But these bolts going through the deck are not through bolted, they're just going into the deck. And so that to me would lend itself to being more in compression, but it's probably for both. There are two big bolts down here at the foot of this thing that are like 3/4 inch bolts. They're stainless bolts going through an aluminum like foot, and so they're probably welded together. I tried yesterday to get them out and they're not coming out. These up here, I'm gonna try and get out too, but I think we're going to have to cut this thing out. It looks like it's like glued in as well as bolted in. So yeah, that's what we're doing this morning, is cutting this thing out probably.
I'm going to ask the question that I think we're all wondering, or I'm wondering at least. How do you know that when you take out that metal pole, the boat's not just going to crumple? Like, you think that the bulkhead behind is providing the structural support, but how do you know this?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of structure here in these bulkheads that will replace this. Even more structure probably than this thing is by itself. And I also talked to Evan, the naval architect, about it, and he said it's fine.
Okay, so you promise me that Duracell isn't going to crumple.
I promise you. And Evan promises you. That's easy.
Easy peasy.
Ooh.
What?
Water.
Ooh. Huh. That's no good. Is that a surprise?
Kinda. Trying to think. The hatches were really close to this. There were a lot of holes in the deck right there, around where the hatches were. So I imagine water could have leaked in and traveled there. I fixed some rot from those hatches the other day. I found more balsa just around those hatches. Maybe it's from that. But
Does this mean you have to go exploratory digging?
Yeah, I will eventually. No water there. No. I'm sure it's just welded together. It's stainless and aluminum, which is dissimilar metals, and one acts as a cathode, the other's an anode, and they just basically corrode together to become one.
I know you were secretly hoping that you would get to cut this beam. Am I right?
Maybe a little. Well, you got caught up in the thing. Like new.
This is hard on tools, huh? What can you use it for?
I don't know. We have to find something though.
How about a cat scratching pole? We could cover it in like felt.
Quarter inch. Yeah?
Anyone have any better ideas for us?
It's like totally solid in there. There's no, I don't know, I don't even know where water could have come from. It's like solid. I guess the whole thing, I guess it was epoxy then, the bolt was, so. Huh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some more exploring later, next summer.